You move again and I'll tighten it." The officer's voice was cold, almost enjoying the sound of the ropes scraping against the bark. A young black woman stood trembling, her wrists bound to a tree on the edge of a quiet back road, humiliated, terrified, and completely alone. The night was silent, except for the laughter of the men in uniform who were supposed to protect her. But what they didn't know was that one call had already been made, and the man on the other end of that phone wasn't just her husband, he was Delta Force. What happens when injustice meets unstoppable force? Before that terrifying night, Maya Johnson was just living an ordinary life. A school teacher in a small southern town, she was known for her warm smile and the way she treated every child in her classroom like they were her own. Neighbors described her as the kind of person who always waved first, someone who carried grace even in the face of everyday challenges. Her husband David wasn't around as often as she would have liked. His work with Delta Force meant long deployments, weeks of silence, and a constant edge of worry. But Maya was strong. She knew sacrifice came with the life they'd chosen together. And in the quiet moments at home, when David was away, she kept herself busy, pouring her heart into her students, her community, and the small garden she loved. On the surface, everything seemed steady. But like so many black families in America, Maya lived with an unspoken tension. Driving at night, shopping in certain neighborhoods, even the casual way some police officers looked at her, it was a reminder that safety wasn't guaranteed. Still, she believed that respect, kindness, and keeping her head down would be enough. Until one evening, when a simple drive home turned into a nightmare. Blue and red lights flashed in her rearview mirror. A routine stop, she thought, nothing more. But the smirks on the officers' faces, the sharpness in their tone, told her this wasn't routine at all. And that was the moment Maya's quiet, steady life collided with a storm she could never have imagined. The flashing lights painted the trees in streaks of red and blue as Maya pulled her car onto the gravel shoulder. She kept her hands on the wheel, 10 and 2, just like she'd been taught. Heart pounding, she whispered to herself, "Stay calm, be respectful, it'll be over soon." 2 officers approached. Their boots crunched the dirt in rhythm, slow and deliberate, like predators circling prey. The first one leaned down to her window, his breath thick with tobacco. "License and registration." His voice was sharp, not a request but a command. She nodded quickly, reaching carefully into her purse, but before she could hand the papers over, he barked, "Don't move so fast." His partner laughed. Maya froze, her pulse racing. I wasn't, I'm just giving you my license," she stammered. They dragged her out of the car anyway. No explanation, no reason. The night air was cool, but Maya felt heat rising in her face, humiliation prickling her skin as cars passed by, their headlights catching the spectacle. No one stopped. "Think you're better than us," one officer sneered, talking back. "I wasn't, please, I didn't do anything wrong." Her voice cracked. That only seemed to amuse them more. They pushed her toward the trees lining the road, their hands rough and unrelenting. When she resisted, they twisted her arm until pain shot through her shoulder. A rope appeared, where had it even come from? And in moments, Maya found herself tied to a thick oak, bark digging into her wrists. She screamed for help. The sound echoed through the dark, unanswered. The officers laughed, mocking her cries, taunting her fear. One of them pulled out his phone, recording her humiliation like it was some sick game. Tears blurred her vision, but instinct kicked in. If she could get one message out, just one call, with trembling hands, she managed to tap the emergency button on her smartwatch, sending a ping to David's phone. A lifeline, fragile but real. "Help is coming," she whispered to herself, clinging to that thought like oxygen. But the officers weren't finished. They circled her like vultures, their words sharper than any blade. "You think someone gonna save you out here?" one mocked. "Nobody cares about you, nobody's coming." And for a moment, Maya almost believed them. Alone, bound, humiliated, her hope felt like it was slipping away. Miles away, David's phone buzzed. The alert code was one he had drilled into Maya for emergencies only. He knew instantly, something's wrong, very wrong. Without hesitation, he moved. Back on the roadside, Maya's fear climbed with every second. The officers' laughter grew louder, their cruelty bolder. One pulled his flashlight close to her face, blinding her, and whispered, "Let's see how tough you are when the cameras aren't rolling." Her heart hammered. She prayed under her breath. She had no idea how close or how far help really was. And then, in the distance, the faint roar of an engine cut through the night. The rope cut deeper into Maya's skin as one officer yanked it tighter, his face inches from hers. "Scream all you want," he sneered. "Nobody's coming." His partner leaned against the patrol car, recording with his phone, their laughter echoing in the dark. Maya's chest heaved. Fear burned into anger, but her body trembled with exhaustion. "Is this how it ends?" she thought, tied to a tree, humiliated, erased by men who wore badges. The sound of gravel crunching under tires suddenly broke the night. Headlights swept across the scene, blinding the officers for a split second. A black SUV screeched to a halt. The officers stiffened. Out stepped a man in plain clothes, but the way he moved, the intensity in his eyes, said everything. "David." "Maya," his voice cracked the air like thunder. Her tears spilled faster, relief crashing over her. "David." The nearest officer smirked. "And who the hell are you?" David didn't answer. He advanced, his presence alone enough to shift the balance. One officer reached for his taser, but David's hand was already on his arm, twisting it effortlessly until the device clattered to the ground. The other tried to step forward, but David's glare froze him in place. Years of training, of discipline, radiated from him like a storm contained only by his control. "Untie her now." His voice was low, calm, but lethal. For the first time all night, the laughter stopped. The officers hesitated, their arrogance faltering as reality set in. They weren't in control anymore. Maya's wrists throbbed, blood trickling where the bark had cut her skin. But her heart, for the first time in hours, beat with hope. The rope loosened, her hands fell free. And in that fragile moment, as David pulled her into his arms, one thought pierced through the chaos. Justice had finally arrived, but at what cost? As the ropes fell away, Maya clung to David, her body trembling, her spirit caught between relief and rage. The officers who only moments before had mocked her now stood frozen, stripped of their false power. Backup soon arrived, not for Maya, but for them. And in that moment, for once, accountability seemed possible. But the scars remained, not just on her wrists where the bark had cut, but in her heart, where fear and humiliation had carved their mark. Maya would carry that night forever. For David, the soldier who had stared down enemies in foreign lands, nothing felt more violent than seeing his wife brutalized at home, in the country they both called theirs. His training had prepared him for combat, but nothing prepared him for this reminder of the hatred still living in his own backyard. And that's the deeper tragedy, isn't it? Maya's story is not isolated. For countless black men and women, the simple act of driving home, walking in a neighborhood, or existing in the wrong place at the wrong time can spiral into terror. Too often, there is no Delta Force husband racing to the rescue. Too often, the story ends before it ever has a chance to be told. Maya survived, but survival should never be the standard. Dignity, safety, equality, that's the standard every human being deserves. So, as you sit with this story, ask yourself, what will it take for these injustices to finally end? Because silence protects the abuser. Attention, outrage, and action, that's what protects people like Maya. If this story shook you, don't let it stop here. Share it, talk about it, reflect on it, because every time we confront the darkness, we bring light a little closer.